I think, you think she was?
Yeah.
I don't think it wasn't Wayne. I mean,
No, not 15. I think she was.
okay.
Just
We
about.
need-
The hospital parking garage?
Yeah. Which isn't really the hospital's, mind you, it's ours. Let's remember that. But yeah,
No,
that's the one we're
just the
talking about.
location.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it might have been Matt Fuller, though.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I thought it was Matt also.
I think Matt was gone by then, but I could be wrong.
But one way or the other, the records should be with that law firm, regardless of which attorney attended, right? He would not have taken the records with him when he left.
I believe so.
Okay.
I think you're correct.
All right. We need to access those records a little bit. So but we'll have to wait till Kara gets back, obviously.
It could have been Wayne Judge, though, too.
But I don't think in 2015. I really don't. But once again, my institutional memory isn't running. My memory isn't running to yesterday. Forget about 2015.
I know. I have enough records at my office computer that I can go back and try to check.
That would be great.
Yeah.
But it was
That is.
2015 is when we built it, and Jeffrey may be in touch with you regarding that then, okay?
Jeffrey.
Flag.
Oh, Jeffrey Flagg. Oh, that's Jeffrey.
Yeah.
We are live now, just so you know. So,
Okay, thank you.
so you want to commence the meeting, Mr. Mayor?
Judy will. I'll go
Judy,
first,
I'm
Mayor. Is that all
Yeah.
right?
Go
Yeah.
for it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. IDA will go first, Peter, and then we'll switch over to the LDC. And I'm having a bad allergy day, so please excuse me.
too.
Ah, jeez. Thank you. All right. I will call the Glens Falls Industrial Development Agency monthly board meeting for May to order. We have a quorum of all the members here. Thank you, everyone, for being with us. As it was noted, our counsel is away today, and so we are not with our attorney, but I met with her prior to the meeting, and we should be all set. We have a number of our key advisors and staff consultants here. I'm not sure which guests are here, but Peter is helping us today, and we'll have a record of all of that for you. I see on my screen Jeff, and I heard Suzanne, so I believe at the very least they are there. Mark Toomey. Mark, are you in? Yes,
Yep.
There you are. I see you now. Great. Is Jim Thatcher on?
Yes.
He is. Very
Yeah.
good. I don't know what's going on with my screen, but I've got a new laptop, and that must be it. So,
Take it to Staples, apparently. That would be the answer.
yes.
Thank you.
So I do not have a chair report today, other than one project report. And so when we get to project reports, I'll talk about those. And unless you have any questions for me, I have nothing specific to report for the IDA today. Okay. So we have the minutes from the March 11th and the April 8th meeting. Now, the March 11th minutes, we previously approved the minutes from the committee meeting and the annual meeting that were held on that day. These are the minutes from the regular monthly meeting that we conducted on March 11th, and then the regular monthly meeting we conducted on April 8th. Any questions or comments on those? There being none, is there a motion to approve both
I'll make the
minutes?
motion.
Lois, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Jane Reed, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Any abstentions? There being none, the minutes for both meetings are passed. The financial reports were sent out to you, and do you have a moment, Mark, to give us just a run through?
Yeah, IDA, not much happening. We did receive that check from EASM Park Street, $20,162.50. I deposited that a couple of days ago. Let's see, cash balance, before that check was 28,259. We've got a couple outstanding checks to Fitzgerald for 807 and 384. With that check from Park Street, that brings our balance up to 49,230. No changes in this in the due to due froms from CDC, LDC. Again, I just mentioned the 2 Whittemore payments, and that is, I think that's pretty much it for IDA. It's quiet.
Okay. Any questions for Mark on that financial report? There being none, is there a motion to accept the financial report as presented?
So
I'll
moved.
make it.
I think that was
Lois.
Mary. Lois moved it. Is there a second?
Carrie.
Second.
Second is Mary Gooden. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any abstentions? Any nays? There being none, the financial report is accepted as presented. So for our Schedule A, we have 3 bills totaling $1,382.96. $806.96 is for Fitzgerald Morris Baker Firth. And then there are 2 bills related to the audit that we are covering for the CDC, $384 and $192. Any question on those bills? There being none, is there a motion to pay those 3 bills?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
It's Todd. Second is Lois. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion, any abstentions? Any nays? There being none, the motion is passed. Thank you. Mark, please go ahead and pay those bills, and I will make arrangements for, I think, for Lois and Todd to sign. We can talk about that, I guess, after our next meeting.
Okay.
Okay. So reports, so 1525 Park Street, Mark mentioned the closing on, the closing occurred this past, it was on May 5th. That included financing that the developer has through Adirondack Trust, as well as our IDA straight lease transaction. And we received that administrative fee of $22,162.50, which was deposited by Mark this week, and all legal fees were paid at the time of the closing as well. We were notified prior to the closing and as part of the closing that there are some unforeseen building conditions, as well as the current market prices of materials that have caused the project cost to go up. The project budget was originally noted as $3.05 million, and it is now estimated to be over $4 million. Approximately $2 million of that financing is coming from the Adirondack Trust loan, and the balance from Elizabeth Miller's LLC. Some of the issues were related to a closer examination of the building. Some piping issues were discovered. It was originally estimated by the contractor that some of the existing windows could be preserved. It's now been determined that all of the windows must be replaced. But in addition to those expenses, there are some supply chain issues that are impacting the cost and the timing of the delivery of those materials. We're seeing the same thing in other projects that I'm involved in, and I'm sure you've read the same in the paper. So what we've asked Mrs. Miller to do is to update her budget and to go through the process of examining those supply chain issues and try to determine, to the best of her ability, a new date by which she expects to be completed. and to come back to us next month with a complete report. And we will, at that time, work with her to see if there's any changes. The original project completion date is August 31, and given the supply chain issues alone, I don't think that the project will be done by that time. Hopefully it won't be extensively long after that. Work is underway. If you go by, you'll see work is underway. But I do think there'll probably at least be the need for an extension, and she'll probably also be asking for a increase in the sales tax authorization to cover those additional costs. So hopefully we'll be hearing back from her in June. Before I go on to 70 Warren, any questions on 1525 Park Street? Okay. So on 70 Warren Street, I did sign those closing documents, I think on April 9th, and the closing took place shortly after that date. I did not attend the closing in person. I signed in advance. The consolidation, modification, and extension agreement totaled $1.535 million. The interior work of that property is now underway. As you know, we previously worked with that developer on the exterior work, and now the interior work, which is the fit up in accordance with the tenancy that's under contract, is underway. And I would have to say that progress seems to be at good pace there. I know some additional exterior work is also underway or being considered. I believe that Mr. Hoffman came before the city to ask for vehicle access to the property from Warren Street. I'm not certain if that's been approved yet, but I think it's at least under consideration. Otherwise, most of that work is interior. And that's all I've got. Any questions on 70 Warren Street? Okay. So I have no other business unless the members do. And I have no need for an executive session unless the members do. Okay. Our next meeting will be Thursday, June 10th at 8 a.m. And I'll call for an adjournment of the meeting.
I'll make the motion.
Lois
I'll
made the
second.
motion. Jane Reed seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned. Thank you. Now I'll turn it over to Mayor Dan Hall and the LDC.
Thank you, Judy. I'd like to call to order the Greater Glens Falls Local Development Corporation meeting of May 13th to order. We do have a quorum. The first part that we will have today is the chair report, but I'm going to actually go down and wait until we do the project reports on that. So we'll go to the administrative reports and approvals of the resolutions. I'll take the minutes for the meetings held on March 11th, 2021 and April 8th, 2021. I'll look for approval of those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. The next part will be the financial report. I'll have Mark go through that.
Okay, on the, as far as the profit statement, just a small amount of loan interest, small amount of bank interest. Expenses were CT Mail's monthly bill, DRI, for $4,246. We took insurance, the monthly insurance from prepaid for $1,220. Payroll expense was account temps, 5 weeks worth for $2,721. The payroll's high. It was high for probably 3 or 4 months. You know, I was doing the the pre-audit, audit, post-audit, and then the Paris report probably throughout March. So now the expense for account temps will be coming back down to probably an average of 5 or 6 hours a week. Cash balance at April 30th was $27,268. Outstanding checks we've got right now that are in the bin to be signed would bring the adjusted balance down to $22,538. Looking at the balance sheet, everything's in good order. No changes as far as the prepaids, fixed assets, accounts payable, restricted net assets, We received the balloon payment from the bullpen for $54,244. I got that. Yes,
Nice.
I've not.
That's a picture of the check.
Oh, you did go get it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I got it.
That's nice.
So the mayor now has to go pick up checks in person. Nice.
I'll do it, believe me.
Photo
That's
op,
right.
photo op.
So let's go get 13 Chester Street then, Mayor.
Yeah.
If I need to, I will.
Okay. But so I've not deposited that check yet. I can put it in the typical relending account, and then you guys decide, where you want to move it to make a few bucks on. Let's see what else. The escrow account, I checked with Kara. That escrow account stands where it is. I gave her the address for that World Awareness mailing address plus the contact information. I've got to find my backup paperwork. I think when I got everything back from the auditors, I've got that filed somewhere. So I'll go through my files Monday and find out that and give her the backup. I think that is insurance inspector was in yesterday as far as the LDC coverage for my little location plus Elm Street. And he was there for about 45 minutes, talked with myself and Jeff. He was satisfied. I think he didn't need to go in the building. He just went over, did a drive-by, checked it out, and that was it. Let's see. And then I guess my only question, anything yet on that Glens Falls Seniors Center as far as check writing? That was, I think, Jim and Jeff were looking into that, I believe.
When you say anything on it, you need something?
I don't know if that has to be answered now, but I mean, that's just a little piece of paper I had as a reminder myself to ask the question.
I believe, Mark, that does not need to be issued, and we probably need to, but why don't we sit down with Jim Thatcher and go over that to be clear? I
Okay,
want to go back and look at that, because I think that work that's under the DRI, and I don't think that work is going forward, but let's take a look.
Right.
okay.
And then I
Yep.
want to add, go ahead, Mark, I'm sorry.
I think that's it from my standpoint here.
So one of the things that Suzanne and I and Mark worked on this week, just in addition to what Mark just reported, is we did receive somewhat late a renewal bill with the Chubb group of insurance companies for our liability insurance for the board, and that premium is due May 18th. And we did not include it on the schedule of bills, but when we get to that, Mayor, I'd like to add that. It's $1,772. We went through it and it's appropriate. It's consistent with what we've been doing, our premium payment for several years. And again, the policy period is May 18th, 2021 to May 18th, 2022. So we should probably pay that or authorize that payment today as well.
What was that figure again?
$1,772.00. And again, that's the premium for the Chubb group of insurance companies.
Okay. Is that it, Mark?
That's it.
Okay. So the next thing will be the payment of bills. See Schedule A. We have account taps with a total of $1,365.34. Fitzgerald, Morris, Baker, and Firth for $1,344. CT Mail for the DRI and the DRF of $2,560. New York State Department of Law Annual Financial Report for charitable organizations of $250. And the insurance payment that Judy just talked about for $1,772. And who's that made payable to?
Chubb.
It is made payable to Chubb group of insurance companies.
Okay, let's make note of that. Okay, so the total now would be, it's going to take me a minute here,
7291.34.
7291.
I'm sorry. Wait, yes.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
Say it again.
7291,
34 is right.
$7,291.34.
Thank you. Okay, so that would be the total. I'll look for approval of the payment of the bills.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, okay. So the next thing, as I mentioned before with the chair report, the major thing that we've got going on is we're moving strongly on the DRI now. I'm gonna let either Judy or Jim or Jeff bring us up. I think Judy, you kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the DRI and the Market Square and so on.
Yeah, so, some of this has been in the paper, I think, already. Thank you to the members of the Common Council and to everyone who participated in this process. The Common Council met on Tuesday night and took this under consideration, and they approved it. And so we're now moving on to part 2 of this process. And so together with the city, there was a request for qualifications that was released to identify a qualified developer who would purchase, develop, and manage 3 parcels that are currently owned by the city and the LDC. And so we've now, in effect, selected that development team to go forward and do that. And I'd like to, as part of today's meeting, just echo and thank the Common Council for moving that forward, because it does involve properties that this board owns and controls, and we'll be working directly with the city and with this developer to move forward to that second process. And the second part of that RFQ process, now that the developer's been selected, is to advance to the negotiation stage with this successful development team to enter into a contract of sale and conveyance of those properties. And that includes 45 South Street and 36 Elm Street, as well as property controlled and owned by the city, 25 to 33 South Street. And so the members of this board participated in that review process, as well as members of the Common Council. There were 2 teams that applied. Their applications were reviewed and scored, and and then both teams came in for interviews, and those interviews were conducted a couple of weeks ago. Can't remember the date. There's a summary of that review, and I'll just briefly go through it. I think in general, both teams presented well in print and in their interviews. They presented a solid background in past construction activity, and also meeting participation goals for MBE, WBE, SDS, VOB certified firms. They both brought high qualified architectural members to their team to help with the design aspect of the process. The Bonaccio team presented a much stronger background in mixed-use development and commercial and residential uses that are combined in the same building, more so than the MLB team, which was the other team. They also presented a much stronger understanding of the Glens Falls market. They had a very good strategy to attract business development activities to their spaces that would help the city expand our tax base and bring some additional and new services and goods to the downtown area. The Bonaccio team presented also a very good understanding of the state's DRI program and knowledge of their regulations, procedures, and policies. They also had a very good management plan for property management of the building, much more so than MLB. That was one of the follow-up questions we had for MLB. And we still had not heard from them by the time we were looking to make a decision, or the common council was. I think that the biggest difference between the two responders has to do with the development experience. The MLB team, while they had very good construction experience, they had not been involved in a project where they were also the developer of a project, or projects such as Bonaccio had numerous lists of similar projects, including downtown development and mixed-use structures. And so the evaluation team, which included some of us again, we discussed all of these issues at great length, including that real estate development experience versus construction experience and the importance of it in this aspect, including the acquisition of the land, the arrangement of the financing, as well as the construction of the property, but also very important, the property management afterwards, because this is not something that the city or the LDC is going to be managing. It's something we want someone else to own, to develop, to construct, and to manage. And so we reached that conclusion based on that, and it was the Bonaccio team that we recommended, and the Common Council concurred. And so now we would move on to that next step, which is to enter into an agreement to sell the properties. And Mayor, that's all I've got, but I'm happy to take any
Is there any
questions.
questions?
No, Judy, I love the idea of receiving this note from the city of Glens Falls outlining what you just said. It makes it so much easier and simpler for us to be able to read this ahead of time and fully understand what's going on. So I, for one, really appreciate this. Like I appreciated the one from the city of Glens Falls on the arts district that we got last month. It really helps a lot to understand by being able to read it at our own pace.
Yeah, and have it ahead.
Thank you.
So
Welcome.
I will say that Judy does a pretty good job.
Yes, she does.
She's
I
great,
agree.
let me tell you.
She does.
So the next thing we'll move on to is the Community Market Center, and I'll have Jeff Flagg give us an update on that.
Excuse me, thanks, Mayor. So the Market Center is sort of moving just ahead of the of what we'll call Market Square. And as you may all know, the city has chosen, after a lengthy RFP process, we had about a dozen firms we received proposals from. We met with about 5, and we chose Envision Architects. We've begun the process of sort of design with them, and we're holding a series of workshops to look at sort of the basics of the building, right? Before we get into sort of the nitty-gritty details, what we're really trying to do at this point is to sort of decide at a sort of a relatively high level what the building is going to be used for. Obviously, as everybody here knows, the sort of the initial and primary was be a farmer's market, but obviously we're trying to expand the uses as many ways possible. So in concert with Envision, and we've been holding a series of meetings we're in the middle of right now. We just had one yesterday, and some of the folks on this call were on that as well. We were looking at things like sustainability elements that we want to incorporate. We have a meeting next week to talk about purpose design and the kind of uses that we're sort of envisioning we're going to put the building to. We're going to be talking about mechanicals. We'll have meetings. At relatively soon, we're going to be sort of engaging with the community at large, or larger elements of the city government, to try and get input from as many people as possible. Obviously, the larger, the more uses you put this building to, the more constituents you have who will have input into this. So we got to be careful not to let this sort of get out of hand. But we do want to make sure that we have as many relevant interests get their input into the building as possible. At the same time, and this really coincides with what we're doing with the Market Square and the choice of Bonaccio, because there's a hope that in some cases we might be able to sort of coordinate the design. As you may or may not know, there's obviously a desire to put some of the uses right in the buildings that ostensibly Bonaccio will be working on. That will sort of complement some of the things that are going on here. Most notably, the idea of some sort of a commercial kitchen in the incubator building. on Elm Street there. So the notion here is that we're going to try and sort of move, obviously, in parallel paths as we sort of coordinate the design and eventually the construction of the Market Center, and then the renovation and construction of Market Square. So the idea is that these will all sort of work in complement to each other to the extent possible. So we should be, we're going to have a pretty regular schedule, and we're hoping to move forward at a relatively good clip from this point forward.
Thank you, Jeff. I was in on a call yesterday, and I really do like Envisions. I think this is going to be a gem when it's done, and they're really a good group, and they really are asking a lot of good questions and obviously giving us some really good ideas. So it's going to take a little while, but I think we're going to be very satisfied with the end result.
I agree.
Okay. Any questions on that?
I just want to add, Mayor, to that and to Jeff's report that these are issues we discussed with Venaccio and I think also with Envision, and we expect Venaccio's architect, which is 3T Architects, to work closely with Envisions on this, and they've agreed that that would be part of, that they understand that, as well as they would be controlling some parking areas that would be used in part by the city and for the Market Center building. And so that is part of the agreement that we'll be looking to address with Venaccio, and they're aware of that.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Okay.
The next thing we have on the agenda is the Glens Falls Drive. I'll turn that over to Jim Thatcher, and I'll let him follow up also with the DRI facade program.
Thank you, Mayor. It's kind of funny, Judy and Jeff get to describe the big glamorous projects and the smaller table scraps, so to speak. So, but these are good things for the LDC to be involved with. Glens Falls Drive, we reformulated the retail small business competition component of the DRI that the mayor and Ed had the vision for several years ago. We have conducted 8 interviews or presentations from 8 business owners so far of what we call, I guess, the first round to see how much money of those may qualify for funding. There's a sub panel that was involved in those reviews between Jeff, Amy Collins, the mayor, myself, and Pat Tadish. And now we're kind of in the scoring and due diligence phase to see what kinds of offers the city through the LDC would want to make to any of those businesses that ranked well in our evaluation process. So I think my goal, or at least with Jeff and Amy and the mayor, would be next month perhaps to have some potential commitments or at least outline those offers to you as a board, because this grant money is through the LDC, so we want to keep you in the loop on any approvals. But that's GF Drive. I think the mayor is very positive about what's been presented so far, and a wide variety of business opportunities for the downtown to come into play. On the facade program, that's a smaller grant or program out of the DRI. We have 3 prospects that are getting more information about their potential projects to Jeff as kind of the face of the program, and then we will kind of process those materials on your behalf as a board. I think one other application was handed out to a Glen Street business that does have some dire facade needs. I don't know if that's come back yet. So there's potentially 4 facade projects in play, but I don't have enough details to present numbers to you yet. Again, Jeff and I are kind of working on those hand in hand. And just as a quick side note too about the DRI, the Arts District is moving ahead slowly with public art installations, hopefully later this summer. There's at least 4 major art installations planned to get partial funding or from the DRI. There's bike racks, 10 bike racks that are a pretty interesting enhancement from what some of the bike racks you see now around the city that will be installed relatively soon, we hope. And some sidewalk stamp markers to lead you along the arts trail that was created. Should be done sometime later this spring, as the mayor can corral DPW to help with that coming up. So that's kind of the arts district component. And those are the three areas that I have for you today.
No, you got one more. We're going to let you go through the CARES Act deferred loan status.
Okay, one more, great. This is a really good success, I think, working closely with Amy and the mayor. The Small Business Recovery Fund has issued 21 deferred loans to businesses in Glens Falls to date. That's a review committee with John, who's on the board here, Mary, and Pat Tadish. There's about 50,000, 49,000 left to go. Most of those grants are at 70, or not grants, but deferred loans are at 7,500 unless the business requests a little less. So with less than 50,000, there's still room for 6 additional. Kind of nice that the mayor got a couple of businesses on Dix Avenue to apply, which was good because although the construction isn't really a COVID issue, it kind of came right on the heels of COVID. So it's a double whammy for some of the Dix Avenue businesses. And we've been able to help at least 2 of them so far with these funds to stay afloat since they're coming out of COVID, but now getting hit with the construction inadvertently going on Dix Avenue. So that program has been a great success so far. And I project between 30 and 35 jobs have been retained in the city because of those funds. It's not a direct correlation, but it's certainly, everyone had to prove at least some kind of job creation or retention to be qualified for those funds. So we put that number in the low 30s for job retention. So we'll keep going until we run out of money and take it as far as we can.
Great. Well, thank you for that report, Jim. As you guys all can see, we got a lot going on here in the city. There's it's been an interesting times, let me tell you. So I can tell you that with the help of the Common Council, the help of the work group, and obviously the consultants we have, we're staying ahead of it. It's a very busy time, but we couldn't do it without their help. And it's been a collaborative effort. And I appreciate, the LDC and the IDA for staying with us and helping us get through all this. And I would like to open it up for any other business you'd like to discuss. I don't think we have an executive session, so I would say I would look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll
So
make it.
moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. Thank you,
on.
Peter.
Thank you very much. Been a pleasure. I hope you have all have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
great
Nice-
day, everyone.
Nice seeing you again, Pete.
You too, Lois. Take care.
Thank you.